Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives right after they put out important news. With us today, glad to have him back, Bernard Tourillon, Chairman and CEO of HPQ Silicon Resources, trades on the venture under HPQ, and for friends of the US, HPQFF. For those new to the story, because it's starting to attract a lot of attention, HPQ is essentially a Canadian producer that's building a portfolio of unique, high-value specialty silicon products that are going to be needed for the renewable energy revolution. And they're doing it with two renowned technology partners. More than just lip service, they've already received their first order for spherical nano silicon materials from a major automobile manufacturer. The name wasn't disclosed, so we can all try and guess and see who that is. There's also a couple of NDAs with at least two battery players that we know of. And the company's Quartz reduction reactor pilot plant will be up and running in Q4 of this year. And today they announced HPQ Silicon and PyroGenesis signed an agreement to develop new environmentally friendly process to manufacture fumed silica. Bernard, welcome back. Tell us about your shirt.
Yeah, it's just an airplane shirt in memory of Sebastian.
Let's go. I want to jump straight into a couple of quotes because instead of going through what's fumed silica, because you did a really good job of that in the press release. Okay. Mm-hmm. What is it? What are the applications? And we'll touch on it a bit. But I know
you're going to ask investors to actually read the press release and not make up their own.
Yes. I continue to battle you on that. 98% of them do. 2% are the bashers who don't read the press releases and then want to complain, but they definitely do. And they know the applications and we'll get into a couple because I have some questions, but I want to get to the quote first. You said the business opportunity that this represents should not be underestimated and could be as significant as the ones represented by the PUREVAP family of processes we're developing with PyroGenesis. And then Peter Pascali, CEO of PyroGenesis, says, this agreement represents another significant milestone in our relationship with HPQ and once again underscores the many hidden opportunities within this partnership. So extract for us, if you can, just how good you guys are feeling about making this official announcement and how optimistic or even enthusiastic shareholders should be, because you guys are making some big statements in these quotes.
Well, we always make big statements. That's why we're promoters. But the fundamental part is we're delivering on those big statements. I know that for many people, it doesn't seem like we're delivering, but this is big for HPQ. It is because it's a completely new business line. It was one I've always looked at doing. When we started with PyroGenesis, we were looking at a different way to increase the value of our quartz deposit because that's what we were looking to do at the beginning. But over time, the realization that there are so many applications where silicon dioxide or silicon, SiO2 or SIs are used in our daily life, okay, that we don't really realize it. And we're entering into a very interesting phase, which is for the first time ever, okay, the entire circle of life, if you can call it, of a material, okay, is being studied, investigated, and people demand to know where it was made, what was the carbon footprint, what was the pollution, everything on everything else. It is no longer, I want the cheapest widget, okay? I want to know everything about that widget. I want a widget to have basically a blockchain application that tells me who picked it up at the beginning and who finishes it at the end, okay? So we're entering into that paradigm shift of a universe. That this is where we are. I've been in the solar business before. And when we started in 2018, we announced the previous government financing. I'm just doing a bit, sidestep. We tried to get Hydro-Quebec interested in what we were doing for solar, and they weren't interested. They ended up buying the freaking cheapest solar panel from China. Okay. Well, lo and behold, today, an investor sends me an email, and there's an article that says, oh, Quebec buys solar panels from the province where the Uyghur are, okay? So this is where everything now becomes important, okay? It's the butterfly theory. This being said, fumed silica is one of those materials that everybody uses, okay? There is no manufacturing of fumed silica in Canada. Everything is imported either from the States or from China. And pyrogenesis came up with once again, one of those innovative way of replacing, which are fundamentally chemical-based reaction, okay, to make fumed silica, to one that is where plasma is used to do it, which is their signature. And it fits perfectly within the scope of what HPQ does. So what this transaction and the series of transactions we were doing with pyrogenesis fits fully within our business model, which is what we like to do, which is to market innovative solution that comes out of pyrogenesis, which start with SiO2 and move on. So this is and when you look at the end product market in the environment that we're in, the technology we're bringing resolves problems that people didn't even know they have, but they're starting to realize that they have. All right.
So is it a case of you're creating the same product, but you're creating you're creating it from such a significant better process that's the selling point. That's the competitive advantage you hold over everybody else in the space right now.
Yes, because see, as opposed to, let's talk about nano silicone or silicone for batteries, okay? Silicone for batteries will have to be tested, and then every end product has to figure out how it's going to work within their product. In this case, it's sort of an industrial material that's high value. It's an industrial material. So once you meet the quality criteria, okay, you're in the selling phase. So we don't have that has long as R&D testing to get the product to mix and match everybody, okay? The silicone for batteries is for the entire industry. It's at its infancy. This is a mature industry, okay, which could actually double in size if there was better ways of making fumed silica. Because if there was more fumed silica, more people would use them. But people have sort of like worries about, supply, the environmental cost, and everything. So there's already an existing market, okay? We would have a geographical advantage from the beginning to be able to start to generate revenues, and the market is worldwide. I already have client in Taiwan that is, running after me. So when can you send me the first sample so I can send it to my end clients? Okay. So this is similar and different to the silicone for batteries, but the market is very, very big. The profit margin we're talking about are massive. It doesn't take a genius to figure out if you reduce by 85% the energy consumption required to make the product, you're going to have something very much cheaper. Forget all the environmental costs, just that.
And something that I read in the press release, quote, but present manufacturing processes are hindering its growth potential. You just talked about that a second ago. If you guys are able to successfully get through this next 12 to 18 months, because you have that timeline at the end of the press release, is it possible that you can actually increase the size of fumed silica just by wiping out all those concerns about hazardous chemicals, energy use, and all those environmental friendly factors in the status quo?
I think what's going to happen is that the addressable market is going to become bigger, because right now we're only talking about addressable market for fumed silica. There is a lower quality material which is called precipitated silica, which is another massive market. Okay, we believe that we'll be able even to be cost competitive with precipitated silica. It's just for certain application, precipitated silica being a lower quality product that can work. So it's just the case of just like our PUREVAP QRR. Okay, we're going to do 4N material cheaper than they can barely do 2N or 1N. Okay. So that means that we have a wider spectrum of markets we can attract, work, develop. All right. And this fits exactly into the business model of what HPQ is. HPQ is a technology incubator toward commercialization. All right. We're not a technology developer. We're a commercial incubator of technology. And I think there's a lot of people that have missed a lot of the points in this press release because there was a lot of material in it. I'll agree to this. One of them is that we're talking about having a second pilot, in HPQ's case, a second pilot plant operational in 2022. Okay. The first one, the QRR, will start in the Q4 2021, but will be operational in 2022. This one will start middle of 2022. So we have two industrial pilot plant technologies, okay, with massive end market that are going to be maturing and starting to advance in 2022. That's pretty rare and unique, okay? One of the reasons why I said this is this could be a great, like, if I was starting, like if HPQ Silicon was just starting now and only had this, I would have a great material to go sell a great story. But it's part of an even greater story, which is HPQ and our relationship with Pyro.
So is that why, here's a quote, the autonomous potential of this project is such that it was deemed more efficient for HPQ Silicon to create from the start a fully owned subsidiary, HPQ Silica Pulver. Can you expand on that a little bit when you say the autonomous potential? The way I'm potentially reading into it is this may be a big living organism on its own, so we might as well park it in a subsidiary from the start, maybe for spin out or something. But that's just me, you know, that's how I read it. Expand on that. The autonomous potential of this project deemed it necessary for a fully owned subsidiary.
Are you telling me for actually once I wrote something clear and concise?
No, I could be really, really intelligent. I was able to figure out your Morse code.
No,
But it sure sounds like that's what you're saying. But I want, obviously people want to hear from a horse's mouth, not from me.
listen, I wrote in the quote, and if you go back to my quote, I said, we're very happy to have been chosen, okay? And we were chosen by Pyro because we have a long-term relationship. But this is a project that, you know, many other promoters or developer would have killed to get a chance to get into at this level. Okay. So this is where HPQ's relationship with Pyro comes in. So yeah, no, so the idea to create an autonomous is that we've learned from humble experience when we went through the Bose Goldfield spinout that parting in a financial statement two entities becomes very complicated because the auditors then say, oh, please return back to the original creation. You know, that's about what they ask you to do. So we said, let's make our life simple, okay? Let's create a new division. That also allows us to negotiate the type of transaction we do with Pyro, where they can convert their royalty for a 50% equity. Please, let me make an editorial comment. Sure. Converting a royalty does not mean getting for free. Close the parenthesis.
Obviously, you're giving up a stream in order to become an equity partner.
Yeah, there you go. But we made the math. The numbers are okay. Just to give you an idea why I say it's such a big autonomous, because, you know, I do back of the envelope calculation, back of the envelopes, Excel spreadsheet about this. And this looks on paper, okay, as profitable as as potentially profitable of a venture, all right, over time. Wow. Than our silicon for battery work. So that's why it's really exciting.
Wow. And so even though the revenue number is not going to be near as big, or the revenue potential, we should be saying, you still think there's so much margin in there that it can have the same impact on the bottom line, or close enough.
Well, it's also because, it's like our battery section is going to be 2,500 metric tons. These plants we're talking more about 4,000 to 5,000 metric ton capacity. So it all plays into it. There's multiple factors into it. It's a much easier process to scale up once it works, as opposed to the other one, because the other ones are more technically challenging than this one. Not that we're having an issue with them, it's just the reality of it. So if you look at them, when I look at them, they're both equivalent, and both of them, support the market cap that we had when we were at our 52-week high.
Question for you. Mm-hmm. The ESG competitive advantage you've made clear is very important. The environmental sustainability that's very important.
Governance, yeah.
But you've also got a part here that says traditional processes right now require, and I'm paraphrasing, a polysilicon plant requiring about $1.2 billion US capex for 10,000 ton, capacity plant. And then you have to add on $150 million to build a production line. So what's a bigger advantage? Is it still the ESG side because, the world is moving towards a zero tolerance, it's got to be clean, or we don't care how cheap it is, we don't want it? or is it also the fact that your cost advantages look like they could wipe out the status quo just based on, you know, some of the rough numbers you're giving us here?
Well, no, they are going to change completely the status quo. What you have to understand is that the feedstock to make fumed silica is silicon tetrachloride. Okay. And what's completely like mind-numbing about this process is you actually start with SiO2, convert into Si, plug it into acid, create silicon tetrachloride, add oxygen and hydrogen, burn it, and then you make back SiO2. Am I the only one that thinks this is completely dumb? But this is one of those things that was invented at the time where big industrial chemical plants were being done. So we were not looking at the most efficient process of doing things. You know, at one point we were building cars that were driving at 3 miles a gallon. It's not the same. It's just, that's when this technology was invented. Because this is a relatively controlled industry by major players, all right? You know, not too many people were looking at a different way of doing this, but this fits perfectly within what our business model and what I've understand is innovation. Game-changing innovation does not come from the big boys. It comes from the small companies like us, the nimble companies like us, the one with vision that can develop one of those type of technology. Now, you know, they might try to come and buy you out to get rid of the system. I'm not talking about this in this specific regard, but since we know that Canada has a need for this material and there is no basically Canadian competitor we would be, you know, displacing, and the market in Canada is significant enough to think we would need something like 10 plants just to meet the entire demands of it. It's a great way to start.
Okay, so I was about to say the Canadian market seems like maybe a good small place to start, but I would think that the U.S. market is
the U.S. market is right next door, but just the Canadian market, it's enough for us, I think, to build 10 plants, if I remember the numbers correctly. So it is big.
10 HPQ size plants, not
well, 10 4,000 metric tons per year. Okay, it's, you know, it's used in so many things. This is what people don't realize. You use it in glue, you use it in paint, you use it in tires, you use it in everything.
Well, and I want to talk about that because one of the uses you have is batteries in automotive.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be skewing towards batteries in automotive, or are you just going to go for the entire gamut of personal care, pharmaceutical, agriculture, and construction?
At the beginning, I'm probably going to scoot toward the highest selling price material,
which is
pharmaceutical and aluminum food section.
Devil's advocate, though, how do you? First of all, HPQ is developing an amazing portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
But devil's advocate, because I've always got to ask these kind of questions, though. How do you go from selling silicon for batteries to silica for pharmaceutical? What's the game plan you guys are thinking, because your partners to put in place here for how you get that distribution?
That's not very difficult. This is why we create separate entity. You know, each company is going to have is either director of sales or director of marketing and have their own marketing campaign specifically designed for their own product. It's like Pyro. They have the additive division. They have the Dross-Ride division. Everyone has everything else. I'll be the man of multiple hats, managing all these issues. But over time, this is where we're going to go. But it's fundamentally in the industrial space. It's the same process. As weird as it is in the industrial space, okay, it is a build it and it will come. Without getting into too much secret. Even before I announced this, I've even got fielders from big boys in the industry wanted to talk to us about this. So
before you put out this announcement, because
remember, there's people that first of all, a lot of people watch what HPQ is doing. There's a lot of people watching what we're doing. I've come to realize this by the number of emails, the question I get.
That's great news.
My story moves forward. And there are some people that follow us with a, direct interest, indirect interest. So as some complainer on some side, this is a repeat without being a repeat of a press release that we issued a few weeks ago, where we said we were going to do this. This is the one where it said, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. But, they think it's the same thing, but they let them have fun. But that first one did attract some people. I am presuming that this one's going to attract more people, okay? Because at the first one, we just said, it's a greener process, okay? It's not the same thing. Now we're saying we're cutting down, the energy used by 86%. We don't use any harsh chemical, or we don't produce hydrogen chloride. The people in the industry understand the issues with their material. They understand the ESG environment that's coming up.
Let's talk about the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at phase 1, 110,000. Phase 2, I'm rounding up 210,000. Phase 3, 290,000. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about under $700,000, and you're up and running here in 12 to 18 months.
You're reading too quickly. It is HPQ's contribution. You have to go to Pyro's press release, where they put more into details. And in their press release, they talk about the 700,000 committed by SDDC. And they also mentioned another 600,000 committed by another government entity. Okay, and then Pyrogenesis puts into it, and we put into it. So this is a collaborative work piloted by Pyrogenesis.
The reason I was focusing on this was because HPQ's contribution, that's a really manageable, light contribution given the significance of what it could mean to the future of HPQ Silicon. So should shareholders take that as a big win,
Yeah, but it is a big win for HPQ. It depends what's the time frame of the shareholders. if the time frame of the shareholders have a reasonable time, George, it's a reality. If the time frame of the shareholders is equivalent to the life cycle of a fruit fly, it's not going to be very important.
Well, those aren't shareholders, right? Those are
but there are. We have those shareholders. They claim to be shareholders. Okay, the fruit fly shareholders.
But and the timeline. Let's kind of run through that timeline. Phase 1 to be completed by December 1st this year.
Yeah.
Phase 2 by July 15th next year. Mm-hmm. And then phase 3 looks like it could be anytime between.
No, phase 3 is the operational part. So it starts after phase 2 is when we start working. So that's when the pilot plant is going to start.
Okay. So it actually starts July 16th. Really?
That's the timeline. I on this project, I think we're going to be able to keep it for multiple different reasons. The beauty of HPQ's participation into it is we come in just at the industrial pilot plant phase. Okay, when we did the QRR, we entered at the grassroots R&D phase. Okay, so this is why I said this is as big, and I showed it in the AGM presentation, and I know that people didn't grasp the entire consequences of this, but fundamentally, and I said it at the AGM, and I'm going to repeat it here. With what we're announcing here is we're fundamentally going to have 2 projects with massive addressable market. Okay, at the industrial pilot plant phases in 2022. One starts in 2021. The other one starts in 2022. Those are 2. Well, I just made 4, but 2 times 2. But fundamentally, that's what I want people to understand. So we're very advanced. This isn't a R&D project at the beginning. This is an industrial R&D project on the way to commercial production. Because once we, work out the kink, which is, I make it sound very easy. I know it's going to be, there's going to be some blood, sweat, and tears. That's what Pyrogenesis does. We're going to have a timeline, a process, a way to go to commercial scale and start moving up.
When you and I first started doing these interviews, de-risking was a very big part of our conversations. George, we've just de-risked the project. George, we've just further de-risked the technology, so on and so forth. I mean, what does this do for de-risking now? What does this do for the future of HPQ to have 2 pilot plants going to be up and running at in the middle of 2022?
When we started in 2015-16, when we started working together in 2015, okay, we had one project. Our success was based on hopefully to make 6N silicon. Here we are, the middle of 2021. we have at least 4 business trips. I put one that's our sort of R&D thinking cap that we're doing. Okay. But we do actually, that would actually be 5. We have the PUREVAP QRR that's going to produce 4N material. Okay. There is the potential now, which is now people waking up to that concept of going solar with that material. Okay. Then we have the work that we're doing in converting that material into nano materials or micro materials for batteries. I think eventually soon I'll give an update on what's going on with the battery side, but just to give a quick news flash, what we're discovering through, as I say, you build it, they will come. The importance of being able to make 4N in battery space is becoming more and more clear to us. It's really going to give us a distinct advantage. Close the parenthesis, I'll do something else. So we have this line, we have those 2 lines related to the QRR. We have the battery material, which we're starting moving into. This is a market that's going to be growing leaps and bounds exponentially over the next 15 years, like you wouldn't believe. Canada just announced that 2035, all cars are going to be electric. How are they going to get the bloody material? The truth of the matter is right now, George, the worldwide capacity to make nanoparticles of silicon, well, even micro for batteries, okay, is 500 ton. We're going to be talking a demand that could be 200,000 metric ton to 2 million metric tons.
Holy,
this is like,
you're talking about 400,000 to 4 million size, 4 million times the market that is today.
That's what it is. So and we're the only one that's completely vertically integrated in this space. A lot of people are talking about it, but they position themselves, and it's a massive line. They position themselves. So we have this product. Now we got the fumed silica, which is an advanced one. Okay. And we have other things that we're working on, hydrogen and those type of projects. So we got our plates pretty full to generate this. So, eventually the market will wake up to where we are. In the meantime, man, it's a little bit.
Well, Warren Buffett made
we're fully funded. We got the Quebec government on board.
When you said earlier, we now realize 4N is becoming more and more important for automotive batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you hearing that from, without being specific? But is it car makers? Is it research institutions? Is it industry players? Who are you hearing from that? Who are you hearing that from?
All of the above.
Without giving names, you able to be more specific with the kind of conversations about I'm not talking about sales, things like that, but what they're saying about our technology.
When can you freaking deliver samples? When can you freaking deliver
that was a Dr.
samples?
Evil laugh right there.
It's like, okay, you're not the only one asking that question. So it's like, we know in the right space. And don't give me this BS that somebody's going to be able to speed data to it. Okay. It's not making the 4N. It's not complicated to do for a traditional manufacturer. It's freaking expensive. There's a difference. Also, there's another paradigm shift that's occurring and no people realize. People were using saline gas to make the nanoparticles because it sort of resolved the 4N issue and those material thing, or they were using polysilicon materials. Well, that was nice when polysilicon was still selling for $8 a kilogram. It jumped to $40 a kilogram or $35 a kilogram. Suddenly all their entire cost structures went through the roof. See, that's going to be the issue that everybody enters the silicone business. And
you're never going to, I don't foresee how you, now, before I said devil's advocate, now I'm going to do whatever the opposite of that is, but I don't see you guys ever running into
that. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't say that.
I don't see you guys ever running into that problem because you guys completely control your own cost structure because it's your own process. So I don't foresee any situation where your costs could ever suddenly just jump.
Exactly. This is why we say that we're the only vertically integrated player into this. We're doing some research on carbon encapsulating, on different type of encapsulating. We can do all these things because at the end we know we're going to have our own product.
So where do we go from here? What's I'll leave last. I mean, I want to drill down further, but I don't think I can anymore without getting you in trouble.
More than usual.
But that Dr. Evil laugh, I think, said a lot. I got to admit, I liked it. What do you want? What do you want to be the last takeaway from you here on the future of HPQ and how you guys are feeling, and the partnership with Pyro, obviously. But is it safe to say this is the best position HPQ Silicon has ever been in its life, and that there's far more to look forward to than there is to worry about? I mean, there's always something to worry about in business, but it just seems like the de-risking of HPQ Silicon has gotten almost as low as it can get to.
Well,
sort of natural catastrophe.
George, that's not a sentence to use when you have a share price. Because that was a tendency to wants to go lower before it goes higher. That's just the nature of it. But as a company, okay, we've never had such a strong value proposition. Now, does the market fully wake up to it? No. But is that my number one worry every minute? No. Why? Because first of all, I'm a big shareholder in HPQ. Pyrogenesis is a big shareholder. The government of Quebec is a big shareholder of HPQ, and we know where we're going with every one of those values. Okay.
And you can't blame people for not knowing either. Maybe not. You can't blame the masses for not knowing, because you're talking about a market currently at 500 metric tons that from your account could go 2 to 4 to as little as 400,000 to 4 million metric tons this decade, right? So clearly, this is a case of HPQ Silicon and Pyro just being ahead of the curve. So we can't be too hard on the investment world if they don't see it yet, because we're not living it, right? Most people live in the now.
Yeah, and some people, explain to me this: if the market's supposed to be perfect, when there's a takeover of a company, why is it always done at a massive premium to the end of the close? Well, basically because the market wasn't perfect. So because the market fully didn't realize the value, and the buyer sees the value into it. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah. Market is rarely perfect. It's over under.
Markets are rarely perfect. I always equate more market to surfing. You got to figure out where the wave is, where it's coming. The reality is the wave is coming in ESG. Okay. Right now the wave is going a bit everywhere else because people are really confused. Like, is it interest? Is it this? Is it gas? It's like right now the ocean doesn't have any steady waves. But the undertow coming, okay, ESG, electric cars, solar panel, renewable energy, new ways of making things more green. These are all the attributes that we are developing, okay? So we're not a one-horse pony anymore. I'm pretty sure that if we would split up in multiple companies, every one of those companies would have the same market cap of what we have right now.
One trick pony, by the way, because it's funny how people refer to that online when you say we're no longer a one horse pony.
Well, what can I say? Pony. It got lost in translation.
Yeah, no, definitely the company's not a one trick pony anymore. And it's amazing what you guys have done, Bernard. To hear you say that the fumed silica may be as profitable as the spherical nano, as the automotive side, the battery side, that's pretty incredible, man. So congratulations on what you guys have done on another great announcement. Always remember, finish off that conversation. Warren Buffett created one of the biggest empires on the planet by buying companies that were undervalued and then waiting for them to reach full valuation. So not that, and by the way, I want to be 100% clear. Definitely not me, and I don't think Bernard are making any kind of claims to what the valuation. We're talking about market dynamics in general. Yeah. We're not talking about the market valuation of HPQ today and tomorrow and so on. That's something you guys got to discover. But that's just general theory. But last word, Bernard. Then we'll sign off because I think you've given us some great information today.
I got my second vaccine, so that means I'm going to be able to go start marketing pretty soon.
All right. Hey, that's marketing is important, and that's if that's
actually, I think face-to-face market, Zoom might have reached its maximum. I think face-to-face meeting with people is going to become more and more important.
Yeah, Zoom's a great way to open the door, but sooner or later you got to break bread. Yeah. And perfect timing, by the way, because one pilot plant is going to be coming on in Q4. Another pilot plant.
Yeah, we're gonna. So I can't.
Perfect time.
Yeah, I can't wait to be able to invite fund manager, institutional manager, ESG. Do you realize how much money has been poured into ESG companies? Okay.
Oh yeah.
We're going to be a poster child for what ESG. Well, Pyrogenesis is one, and we're going to be the second one. Like it's
Looking forward to it, Bernard. Thanks a lot for taking time out of the day today to talk to us about this, man.
You're welcome.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, or your favorite podcast platform, to Bernard Tudillon, Chairman and CEO of HPQ Silicon Resources, trades on the venture under HPQ, on the OTCQX under HPQFF, which is a fantastic feed on its own. Guys, you've all watched and or heard what Bernard had to say. I'm not going to repeat it. You got to do your due diligence. Start off at Agoracom
30 minutes
to get that good overview, and then head over. You can see it right above Bernard, hpqsilicon.com, to do your own deep dive due diligence and hopefully discover your next amazing small cap company. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Hope you love this one. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.